The WRL season is complete. We have the playoff picture for all 5 regions of the WRL, and there are 2 weeks left in the regular season in APFL. All this and more in 20 seconds. Hey, fellow fanatics, welcome to the Fanatically Real broadcast, sponsored by Sport Management Solutions, your one-stop shop for all your athletic communication needs. I saw a couple of people chatting before I came online. I think Damian Gratz is out there, and I think E-Thugs is out there as well. Bruce is out there. If you guys are out there, say hey to me, and I appreciate it. So we're going to get this show started fairly quick tonight. We are going to talk about these WRL playoffs and what it looked like. So last week, as we were talking about the teams that were on the bubble, we had 12 teams that were on the bubble. Do believe that 9 out of those 12 teams are advancing. Mr. Bruce out there, how are you, sir? 9 out of those 12 teams are advancing, and we're going to talk about these region by region. So let us get to the Phoenix region to start off with. Kevin Godwin out there with us as well. Yo, Kevin, how are you? And Damian out there with us as well. Damian, how are you? All right, so let's talk about this Phoenix region first. So last week, here were the 2 teams that were on the bubble. You see them at the bottom there, the Panda Skins and the Mexican Midgets. Both of those teams getting their wins. Panda Skins doing it over the Maniacs. The final score there of 174 to 145. And then the Mexican Midgets also getting it done 131 to 99 over the Chaos. So since both of those teams made it, that means there are 7 teams from the Phoenix region going to the regional playoffs. Here's what those playoffs look like. I get a little bit of information for you for each one of these first round games. So we know the Panda Skins and the Maniacs just played against each other. So they are playing back-to-back weeks now. So they are the number 3 and the number 6 matchup. In the number 2 versus the number 7 matchup, the Scorpions actually lost to the Mexican Midgets in week 2. Remember, everybody inside these regions played everybody else in the region once throughout the whole regular season. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you a kind of, I guess, a preview or what happened earlier this year between these 2 teams. So Scorpions lost to the Mexican Midgets in week 2. And then number 4, Brady Sits Down, to number 1, beat the number 5 Mad Scientist. These are seeds right now in week 10. In the Cerberus region, we had 4 teams that were on the bubble of making it, and all 4 of those teams are moving on. Starting off with Totally Turtly, who defeated the Horny Toads 168 to 102. Gridiron Grinders beat the Sin City Kitties 160 to 127. Speaking of the Gridiron Grinders, perfect on cue. Sean E., how are you? Congratulations on your win over the Sin City Kitties. The Bearcats got the win over the Iron Badgers, 216 to 104. And then we know Mr. Bruce is out there as well. The E-Thugs got their win over the Rochester Rabbits, the powerhouse that is the Rochester Rabbits, 177 to 140. So all 4 of those teams are in. So there will be 8 teams being represented in the Cerberus region. So going through each one of these games, the number 1 Naughty Dogs versus the number 8 E-Thugs. Naughty Dogs actually lost to the E-Thugs in week 4. Monarchs are playing the Sin City Kitties. Monarchs defeated Sin City Kitties in week 10. Rochester Rabbit, that is the number 3 versus the number 6 Bearcats. Rabbits beat the Bearcats in week 9. And then the number 4 Totally Turtly knocked off the number 5 Gridiron Grinders in week 1. All right, let's talk about the Sasquatch region. So in the Sasquatch region, we had 3 teams that were on the bubble. 2 of those teams end up making it in. The first one that ended up making it was the Land Sharks. They ended up beating the 1863 Ramblers 161 to 120. Peach State Hoodaddies was the one loss out of that group of 3. They ended up losing to the Garbage Points 196 to 135. And then the Rum Runners ended up beating Lucky Assburg by less than a point. I know I'm only showing the whole numbers there, but the final score there was 140.26 to 139.54. So with the 2 wins out of that group of 3, they are taking 6 teams to the playoffs in the Sasquatch region. The Rum Runners and Lucky Ass Ferg are going head-to-head again. They just got done playing last week. And then number 3 versus number 6, that's the Garbage Points versus the Land Sharks. Garbage Points actually beat the Land Sharks in week 9. All right, so last week we already knew who was going to the Banshees region because we had the 7 that were on the right that were already locked and the 5 that were on the left that had already been knocked out. So we were just playing for seeding for that region's tournament. Here's what we're looking for with 7 teams going. Ted Lasso is getting the first round bye. The number 2 Wildcats is playing the number 7 Power Claws. Wildcats actually lost to the Power Claws in week 1. The number 3 New York Jackets are playing the number 6 Lady Spartans. Jackets beat the Spartans in week 3. And the number 4 Warbirds versus the number 5 Huron Haulers. Warbirds beat Huron Haulers in week 4. MJ on with us as well. MJ, how are you? You're right on cue as well because we're getting ready to go talk about the Dragons region. So in the Dragons region, we actually had 3 teams that were on the bubble. That was the Mantis Mayhem, Turd Ferguson, and Unicorn Legends. The only one that came out of this unscathed was Turd Ferguson. So both Mantis Mayhem and Unicorn Legends lost. And it was actually the Mantis Mayhem that lost to the Southern Sirens, MJ being on right now, and also the regional manager of the Dragons region. She ends up beating the Mantis Mayhem 154-97, knocking him out of the playoffs. Turd Ferguson ends up beating rookie sensation, the Lone Rangers. Final score was 176-161. And then the Unicorn Legends end up losing to Carolina Nation, putting her out of the regional playoffs. Final score was 156-133. Since 2 out of those 3 teams ended up winning, they are going to push 6 to the next round or the first round of the playoffs for the regionals. Carolina Nation is playing against the Lone Rangers. Carolina Nation lost to the Lone Rangers in week 3, and Turd Ferguson lost to the number 5 Knights in week 5. Here are your power rankings after the regular season final week 11. So Louisville Slugger finished at the top of the regular season power rankings. And we did have a tie at the 25th spot. And since there's no more room for another square, I just squeezed the 2 of them there in together and just changed that square color to gray. So the Peach State Who Daddies and the E-Thugs ended up finishing in that final spot in the top 25. So there is your top 25 layout. A couple of things of note that are kind of interesting. You see number 12, 13, and 14 right there together. They're all from the Cerberus region. Even though they showed 12, 13, and 14 on those spots, it's just a pain in the butt to get those numbers changed. So, in fact, all 3 of those are tied at 13th spot, which is pretty cool. And then if you look at spots 19, 20, and 21, all 3 of those are coming from the Dragons region. Also pretty cool. They are not tied like it is up in the Cerberus region, but they are all right there in a row at 19, 20, and 21. All right, so let's pause for a second and take a little bit of a break here. See how you all are doing. We're almost 9 minutes in, and we've pretty much got through most of the show. So I figured I'd slow down for a little bit. But what we are going to go and move on to next is the APFL. We're going to see what their playoff picture looks like after week 11. Quite a few changes, actually, on the NFC side, as we were able to bring in Chicago. I think, Kevin, you have to tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, if you're still out there. If that's the first time that you've made the bracket, I feel like maybe not, because I would have had to add your logo today, and I didn't have to. It was already in the graphic. MJ says she loves the hat. I appreciate it. So Kevin reaching, you know what, instead of me just talking about, let's bring it up on the screen. So Kevin, the Chicago Monsters general manager, making it into the number 7 spot on the NFC side. Pittsburgh bouncing back in there in the number 7 spot on the AFC side. A little bit of a jockeying around there between the 5, 6, and 7 this week. Big deal over on the NFC side. Switching back over to the side again as Tampa Bay moving to the number 1 spot after Green Bay has dropped down to the number 2 spot now. Three teams from the NFC North in there: Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit. Right now, the pairings would have Green Bay and Chicago playing against each other in the first round. It could be super interesting. So we have 2 games, regular season games left in the APFL. We are playing our crossover out of conference play this week. It will be our last game out of conference. And then, of course, the final week of the season, week 13, we will be back into our divisional play to finish up the regular season. If we were to go to the draft right now with those teams that you saw that are in the playoffs, here's what the other remaining 9 teams would look like as far as the first round of the draft is concerned in the APFL for next year. Denver picking up an extra first round pick after a trade just before the trade deadline. And then with Atlanta being knocked out of the playoff picture for right now, they are now picking up 2 spots in the draft order here for the first 9. And even more interesting than that is probably Tampa Bay being the number 1 seed in the playoffs right now and having the number 1 draft pick as it sits right now for the NFC. So that could turn out to be very interesting. All right, let's talk about what the NFL looks like in week 12. So Thursday night football, Pittsburgh versus Cleveland, which is why I got the hat on. Instead of having a hat and swap out, I figured I would just leave it on for the whole show tonight. Pittsburgh favored by 4. I don't think that's going to be enough points. I would probably end up taking Pittsburgh -4 and still getting the wind. So Pittsburgh at Cleveland, taking Pittsburgh. Sunday night football, we got the Eagles at the Rams. Eagles are favored by 3. I'm picking the Eagles in that one. And then for Monday night football, we got the Ravens versus the Chargers. Baltimore by 3. I'm taking Baltimore in that one as well. All 3 away teams I am taking for this weekend's primetime games. And then something I wanted to bring up as we are getting into the last chunk of bye weeks in the NFL. We got a big chunk of them in week 12. That's this week. We have the Jets, Saints, Jaguars, Bengals, Bills, Falcons off this week. We do have a gap in there, week 13, where there will be no buys because that will be Thanksgiving week and everybody will play. And then as we're getting into the regional finals, unfortunately, we also have 6 teams off. And we'll come back and look at that again whenever we get to that week. How many field goals for Boswell? I don't know if memory serves me right, though. I'm pretty sure he ended up getting 24 points, I think it was, fantasy. And I don't even know if that's just regular 3 points per field goal, or if that 24 was in one of our leagues where we actually give out decimal points as well for the distance of the field goal. But the number 24 kind of sticks with me. So a lot of points out of him. Sure wish I had him right now. Also sure wish I had Aubrey that you grabbed from me a week or 2 ago. Still wish I had him on my roster. So, hey, before we actually wrap this up, because I actually have made it through the big chunk of everything, I kind of wanted to address something that's been bothering me a little bit. I don't know how many people were out there. Gerard says that he had a WRL and he thinks that Boswell got him 27 points. I'm not exactly sure why my camera just went really blurry. Let me see if I can get that to change there. I'm on camera. Okay, better. Kind of want to address something that's been bothering me a little bit. So the majority of you, the 4 that are on you here right now, know that this is kind of a hobby and a passion for me. I put a lot of work into this league and I don't ask for much in return. This year, I ended up taking $200 from each one of the leagues that were supposed to be for MFL league fees and FSA service fees. Each league, because we run deluxe leagues for both the WRL and the APFL, cost $179.70 this year, which means I pocketed a combined $40.20 for running these 2 leagues. And I will say this, that is not enough money for the amount of restless sleeps, the anxiety I get, and some of that anxiety actually physically manifests itself onto my body into hives and all kinds of other things. Um, the fact that people get so bent out of shape over fantasy football is starting to be pretty comical to me. The amount of passive aggressive remarks or sarcastic remarks that are popping up on Discord, and the people that are rage quitting over a rule that has been addressed already that will be changed next year as if it was going to be the end all be all rule forever is just starting to baffle me as well. So I will say this, and it's probably going to come off as a very dickish comment, but I honestly don't care. None of you pay my bills, and none of you sleep next to me at night. Some of you I am very close friends with. Some of you I am casual friends with, and some of you I'm just fantasy football acquaintance with. But I am done overspending my time and entertaining the negative comments and attitudes that we have in the FSA. This is supposed to be fun for me, but the fantasy football experts are taking that away from me. This hobby and passion that I've enjoyed for the last 31 years is really starting to lose its appeal. But that being said, I am never going to quit playing fantasy football, and I am never going to quit running fantasy football leagues. But if let's say WRL ends up being only an 8-team league next year, so be it. Because here's what we're going to do in 2025. We're going to bring an old thing that we brought back after we had closed the doors because of COVID. Whether it's going to be in an expansion league for 2025 or if we're just going to keep playing the redraft, we're going to do this by invite only. And it's not because I want thinking people thinking the same way that I think, because that leaves for zero diversity in a league, and that's not what I want. What I want is to squash the negativity that thinks about this way more than just a way of getting people together and having fun about something that we are passionate about, and that's what it's supposed to be about. It was one of the reasons why I decided for the longest time that I didn't want to do this for money. But I also knew by not doing it for money, I wasn't going to be able to expand the brand. So we brought money into it. And I think sometimes that was a curse to us. So I don't know when I'm going to start doing the invites for whether we do an expansion league next year, if we're just going to go back and do the redraft. But it's going to come as invites only for 2025. Those leagues that we're playing in dynasties, those are secure. Those are not going anywhere. This is more for redraft and anything that we do as expansion leagues going forward. The expansion league that I had for 2025 is a very good possibility that it might not happen now. It hasn't had a lot of, it hasn't really gathered a lot of momentum like I thought it was going to. So we'll see. It might still be a 2025 league, and we might push it to 2026. I don't know you. But if you have any questions about this, you're watching this now or later, or if any of you that are in the show right now decide that you want to start some chatter on Discord, doesn't bother me none if that's how you want to go, and then people can start asking questions or figure out what the timestamp is on this. Whenever I started talking about this, probably timestamp, I'd say 15-ish minutes or whatever. And people can come in and start watching it then, and they can kind of see what 2025 is going to look like. I'll leave that completely up to all of you guys. But if you have any questions concerning just said, hit me up with a DM on Discord, please. Don't blast me out in the main channel. Have a little bit more tact than that, and bring it up in a DM and not in the main chat. So, Sean, I appreciate you. You're right. It is a game. MJ says, preach that louder so the back can hear. Love you dearly, friend. Never lose your passion. Thanks, MJ. Appreciate it. And Bruce says, can't wait to see the invitation. And when you say see, keep your eyes peeled. Already got a plan. So that's it. I wanted to get that off my chest because it's really been bothering me. Whenever I say it physically manifested itself this time, it did. I've had issues with my body ever since that whole thing went down. Damien, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. And I'm just not going to have my health be put in risk over a game, over something that is so silly. And if you don't like that I just said all of that, let me know also in a DM that you will not return, and then you don't have to worry about an invite coming your way. Just to put a little something out there, I am looking to reduce the WRL, the redraft league, from the 60 teams that we had this year to 48. So I already have a list of people that will not be invited back, and there's some people that are on the bubble. And there are some people that might not get that phone call during the first rounds. But if we have enough people that say that they will not return, you might get that phone call in the second round. But I promise you that we will cut it down to 48 next year, and that is how we're going to play. That is what Jason and I built out when we were at his 50th birthday party on Saturday. Thank you to Jason, because he literally spent 3 hours of his own birthday party on a white dry erase board with me, blueprinting what the 2025 league will look like, and I loved it. I appreciate it, MJ. Hopefully you're not just saying that because we are friends. Hopefully you truly do believe that. You didn't get your phone call yet. You don't love me. Well, I haven't started any of the phone calls yet, Sean. I will put that out there. How about that? No phone calls have started, but I'm also not going to make a big announcement of when those phone calls are going to start. We could start before the end of the season. We might wait till after the season's over. Hell, I might wait until after the new year before I start making phone calls. I haven't decided yet. But don't worry if you haven't got a call yet, because the calls haven't started. So we're supposed to be back next week, right? We're going to get through the first round of the playoffs for the regionals in the WRL. We're going to get another week of APFL under our belts. But I'm also not sure that I'm going to be able to. I would say if you want to get the most important stuff, catch about around the 15-minute mark. But the beginning part, Anthony, of the WRL stuff, because that includes you as well, is actually pretty good. So if you can catch it from the beginning, I would appreciate it. So we are supposed to have a show next week, because it would be Wednesday. We have a lot of things we need to catch up with. But next week being Thanksgiving, I am going to be traveling back up to Ohio again, and this time with my children. And we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving with our family for the first time in a really long time. And I will be taking my laptop, but as you all know who have been with me for a while, when I go up to Ohio, I don't have the greatest of signal. I don't have the greatest of technology whenever I'm dealing with my laptop. So I am not sure if we will have a show next week. If we do not, I will still use Discord to the best of my abilities to get as much information out to you all. Now, I will not have my awesome computer that I have here to do a whole bunch of graphic work with. So a lot of it's probably going to be a lot of just text coming at you guys in the rooms. So get ready for it. One way or another, I will let you know how week 12 of the APFL goes and the first round of the playoffs of the WRL. Also, I need to give you guys an update of what's going on in the F3L as we're getting closer to the end of the regular season over there as well. So that is it. Got to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Sport Management Solutions. Thank you to Nature Coast Apparel. Thank you to the Recast. And then again, thank you to Brandon Gums for getting the amazing website done for us that we've got right now. Go in, if you haven't been out and seen the website lately, go out to iplayfsa.com and check it out. And that is it. If you have any questions about anything that was said tonight, any concerns, whatever, like I said, hit me with a direct message. Please don't blast it out into the main chat room. If you want to put anything in the main chat room, start doing a little bit of chatter about the invite-only thing. Let's see if we can't ruffle a little bit of feathers and see what that's going to look like for 2025. Doesn't bother me, man. One way or another, we will get some information out to you all for next week. Again, probably not a full broadcast, if I can even get a broadcast in at all. But the information will be flying. Good luck to everybody who is playing in the first round of the WRL playoffs, except for whoever I'm playing in the first round. And then continued good luck to those that are still fighting for playoff spots in the APFL. You all have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. I will make sure to say happy Thanksgiving to you all whenever the time is right. And we will see you in some way, shape, or form next week. You all have a great evening. Hit me up on Discord.